Hello students, welcome back. Once again, this is Dr. Mercado. Welcome to Accounting 1329, Payroll and Business Tax Accounting. And we are continuing covering Chapter 6, which deals with analyzing and journalizing payroll. In this lecture, we are going to be covering Problem 614A. Okay. Now, Problem 614A deals with workers' compensation. Okay. Now, the problem has a lot of information. Please make sure that you read the information carefully. Okay. So, here we have in Oregon, employers who are covered by the state workers' compensation law withhold employee contributions from the wages of covered employees for the workers' benefit fund at the rate of 1.1 cent for each hour or part of an hour that the worker is employed. Every covered employer is also assessed 1.1 cents per hour for each worker employed for each hour or part of an hour. So both the employee and the employer contribute towards the the workers' compensation fund. Every covered employer is also every covered employer is also assessed 1.1 cents per hour. Okay, that we already read. The employee contributions for workers' compensations are collected monthly, quarterly, or annually by the employer's insurance carrier according to the schedule agreed upon by the employer and the carrier. The insurance carrier remits the contributions to the state workers' compensation department. So, Cortez Company, a covered employer in Oregon, turns over the employee workers' compensation contributions to its insurance carrier by the 15th of each month for the preceding month. During the month of July, the number of full-time employee hours worked by the company employees were 8,270, and the number of part-time employee hours was 1,950. So letter A, we have to calculate the amount the company should have withheld from its full and part-time employees during the month of July for workers' compensation insurance. Okay, so remember, this is a two-part deal here. The employee pays a portion, the employer matches that. They're the same amount, 1.1 cent. Both of them contribute 1.1 cent. Okay, it's same contribution. Okay, so the question here is asking how much are we going to withhold from our full and part-time employees for workers' compensation insurance. Okay, please make sure that you read over section 6.6 of your work, which deals with recording workers' compensation insurance expense. Okay, so as stated in this section, it says that most states have passed laws that require employers to provide workers' compensation insurance to protect their employees against losses due to injury or death incurred during employment. So if something happens in the job, then we can file a workers' compensation claim. The expense account, workers' compensation insurance expense, can be used to record the premiums paid by the company to provide this coverage. Usually the employer estimates and pays the premium in advance. The insurance premium, often based upon the total gross payroll of the business, may be stated in terms of an amount for each $100 of weekly wages paid to employees. At the end of each year, all of the payrolls are audited and the company pays an additional premium or receives credit for an overpayment. So once a year, the account is brought up to current status, adjustments are made. If we owe additional monies, that's when we pay them, or if we overpaid, then we receive a credit back. Okay. Since the premium rate varies with the hazard involved in the work performed, your personnel and payroll records should provide for a careful classification of employees by kind or grade of work and a summary of labor costs according to the insurance premiums classifications. The more hazardous your job, the higher your premium basically, okay? So, let's work off on requirement A. In requirement A, they're asking us the amount the company should withhold from its full and part-time employees during the month of July for workers' comp insurance, okay? So we need to do a calculation. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the full-time employee hours that was provided. And according to the problem, our full-time employees worked a total of 8,270 hours. Okay? My part-time employees worked a total of 1,950 hours. So if we get the total of the two, we're going to add the 8,270 plus the 1,950. That will give me a total of 10,220 hours. Okay? Now my contribution rate, okay? It says here it's 1.1 cent for each hour or part of an hour for both the employee and the employer. Now 1.1 cent, we're going to do 1.1 and we're going to divide by 100 to get our rate, okay? So my contribution rate is of 0.011 cents. 0.011 like that. Okay, very good. So how did I get my contribution rate? I got my 1.1 cents and I divided it by 100 pennies basically. And that gives me 0.011. That is my contribution rate per hour. Okay. Excuse me. Now that I have that, I'm going to get to calculate my withholding, I'm going to get my total hours, 10,220, times my rate of 0.011. That's going to give me my withholding of $112.42. That is how much I'm going to withhold from my employee's paycheck. Okay. That is the amount of withholding from the employee's paycheck. That is requirement A. Okay. Requirement B. The title you would give to the general ledger liability account to which the amount withheld from the employee's earnings would be credited. Okay. So we take this $112.42 away from my employees' paychecks. Where are we going to put it? Well, depending on how you want to label it, there's no right or wrong answer. You can put it in an account called workers' compensation insurance payable, or you can title it workers' compensation insurance collected, or you can title it workers' compensation insurance withheld. To me, if it was up to me to name it, I would name it workers' compensation insurance payable. That aligns with the rest of the accounts that I'm using. I'm using FUTA taxes payable, SUTA taxes payable, FICA taxes payable. So just to keep in the same alignment, I would use workers' compensation insurance payable. But the other two options are also valid. Okay? So those are some options that you can use. Okay? Requirement C. We have to journalize the entry on July the 31st to record the employer's liability for workers' compensation insurance for the month. Okay? So we have to record the entry to record the employer's liability. So this is how much is going to be taken out from the employee's withholding. This is the employee's withholding. This is what we're going to take away from the employee. But now in letter C, the employer also has to put in a dollar amount. Okay? So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to debit our workers' compensation insurance compensation insurance expense. Okay. And where did I get that? If you refer to section 6.6, we have the expense account, workers' compensation insurance expense. Okay. So that would get debited, and then what would get credited? Well, I would put it into my payable, workers' compensation insurance payable. And you can have just one account where you're going to put both the amount that you are withholding from your employees and the amount that the employer is contributing. Because when we remit payment to our insurance carrier, we don't care whose money it is, okay? All of the money, both from the employees and the employer, will be gathered, added together, and then sent off or remitted to the insurance carrier. Okay, so we debit workers' compensation insurance expense and we credit our workers' compensation insurance payable account. And what would the amount be? Well, the amount would be the same because we know we have 10,220 hours in total, and we're going to multiply it by the rate of 0.011. That is going to give me my 112.42. Okay, so the calculation is the same for the employee and for the employer. So I would be, and let me put here a debit and a credit. Okay, credit. So my workers' compensation insurance expense account will be debited 112.42, and my workers' compensation insurance payable is going to be credited 112.42. Okay, so this is the entry to record the portion that the employer is responsible for. The employees, when they get paid, the money is withheld from their paycheck. Okay. Now, requirement D. Journalize the entry on August the 15th to record the payment to the insurance carrier of the amount withheld from the employee's earnings for workers' compensation insurance and the amount of the employer's liability. Okay, so we're doing an entry to send or remit to our insurance carrier the total of our workers' compensation that we have withheld for this particular period. Okay, now remember, the employee contributes 112.42. The employer contributes 112.42. So now we have to remit the payment for the total of those two. Okay, so what are we going to do? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to debit, okay, my workers' compensation insurance payable. Okay, I'm going to take the money out from there. And how do we make payments? With cash. Okay, so let me do like a little T account here on the side, just so you can see. I can illustrate what is it that we did. Okay, so this is my workers' compensation insurance payable. Okay, and I'm just going to abbreviate. Okay. Okay, so I've got my workers' compensation insurance payable, and let me merge this. Okay, so we've got my debit column and we've got my credit column. Okay, so if we see here, when we withheld money from, in letter A, we withheld money from our employee's paycheck, we are withholding $112.42. That money withheld is being put into my workers' comp insurance payable account. So this is a payable. This is my employee's withholding. Okay, that is what the amount I'm withholding from my employees. Okay, then in letter C, they were asking as well, how much does the employer have to contribute? Well, the employer has to contribute another 112.42. Okay, this is the employer's contribution. So now we have to figure, okay, how much money do I have in my account? Okay, well, currently we have the sum of those two. We have $224.84. Okay, now I need to remit payment to my insurance carrier. That's what they're saying in letter D. Okay, we're going to record payment to the insurance carrier for the amount withheld from both the employees and the employer. Okay, so my workers' compensation insurance payable account, I'm going to take the money out. Okay, so I would take the money out. Let me do a little bit more right here. So then I would be taking the money out. Okay, and now my account is left with $0. Okay, I had 224. This is the total. Okay, and then this is my entry to withdraw the money from the payable, just to record the payment to the insurance carrier. So when I remit payment, okay, when I remit payment, okay, I'm going to take the money out of my payable. That's going to leave my payable now at 0. Okay, so my workers' compensation insurance payable account is going to be debited for the $224.84. Okay, and when I remit payment, I have to pay the insurance carrier with cash. That'd be via electronic transfer or a check. But regardless, it's going to affect your cash. So your cash is going to decrease by $224.84. So the payable decreases because we're taking the money out of the payable to remit our payment. And then cash is going to decrease because now we're making a payment to our insurance carrier for that amount. So workers' compensation insurance payable will be debited for the total, both the employee and the employer, and we're going to credit cash. Okay. So that is this problem. It's not complicated, but there's just a lot of information being included. We have 4 requirements. The first one is to calculate the employee's withholding for a workers' comp. The second one is to identify the types of accounts or how we can name the account. The third one is to record the actual entry for the tax liability for the workers' compensation uh, insurance. How much does the employer have to pay for workers' compensation insurance? Well, it's at the same rate, 1.1 cents for both the employee and the employer. So that gives me 112.42. Now in letter D, they're saying, okay, now it's time. We are already in August. Okay, so because we are in August, we're going to be remitting our payment. So how much are we going to pay? Well, we collected 112.42 from the employees. The employer contributed 112.42. So the amount that we're going to remit payment for is for the total of those two, which is 224.84. So I'm going to debit my workers' compensation insurance payable account to take the money out, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to credit my cash. Okay. Please make sure that you read over the section that deals with workers' compensation laws. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.